Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul, and in this Red Gaming Tech.com video, we're going to be discussing as well as analysing tech news which, as usual, has popped up in the past 24 or so hours. Hopefully, you're having an amazing day. We have lots of news for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X to go through, though if you're interested in AMD and Intel related news, you can check out the other video which is uploaded on the channel. It is, of course, linked in the video description. With that said, let's jump into things because finally we know at least one SSD which does work on the PlayStation 5, and this has actually been confirmed by Western Digital. WD Black have a portfolio of SSDs, and it is confirmed that we actually have one of these drives which will work in the PlayStation 5. Now, this drive can read at speeds of 7 Gbps and write speeds of 4.1, which is good enough, of course, for the PlayStation 5, while the internal drive does run at just 5.5 gigabytes per second. Not that that's slow, but still. You also have a better priority / queue system on the PlayStation 5 SSDs versus the standard customer-facing drives. So that is why you need that extra memory bandwidth available on the drive to obviously accommodate that. But hey, at least we know that the SN850 is actually compatible with the PS5. Hopefully, we'll hear more manufacturers confirm pretty soon that their drives too can work on this thing. Sony has also provided us some details, finally, to the backwards compatibility of the PlayStation 4 games on the PS5. According to the support page of PlayStation's website, there is an overwhelming majority of the games which do work. Over 4,000 plus PS4 games are playable on PS5 titles, and select games will benefit from a game boost, which obviously means that we get higher frame rates, performance compared to the experience on, like, let's say, a PS4. In fact, this has actually been confirmed on one game already, and that is Final Fantasy XIV. It will actually run with performance improvements on the PS5. However, certain games, a few select games do not work on the PS5. I don't think they're exactly popular. I mean, honestly, I've not heard of most of these games, but DWVR is not compatible. Afro Samurai 2, TT Isle of Man, Ride on the Edge, Shadow Complex Remastered, Robinson, The Journey, We Sing, Hitman Go Definitive Edition, Shadwen, excuse me, Joe's Diner, and the final game is Just Deal With It. I just really couldn't resist leaving that one until last. So those games apparently do not work on the PlayStation 5. The one good thing is if you're buying the games digitally, i.e. via the PlayStation Store, the titles actually are marked to basically warn you, hey, yeah, this doesn't work so much with the PS5, so just warning you. That's actually a very small list of titles which, according to Sony, do not work. So it's around 10 games, which is basically bupkis. There are also a couple of other small things too. In-game live from PlayStation and PS4 second screen and apps do not work on the PlayStation 5, as well as PS4 tournaments. But again, the most important thing to me is that you plonk the game in and it does work, and that seems to be the case for pretty much every game out there. So whether it's Tekken 7 or, Infamous or whatever else, all of those will work. So it really is just 10 games. I would be very curious from a technical reason. Obviously, but we're not going to find this out from Sony, but I would be very curious as to why those titles do not work on the PS5. We have seen patents, of course, with how the PlayStation 5's backwards compatibility works, and it is a pretty smart decision. Basically, the GPU and CPU adjust their clock frequencies. The GPU, for example, will clock down to just 800 megahertz if it's emulating PS4 games. There will be differences in the actual functionality of the GPU. So, for example, the CPU as well will also disable SMT, simultaneous multi-threading. And there are also other changes which take place, which basically mean that the CPU is being slowed down to appropriately emulate the performance of a base PS4. So again, I would be super interested to find out why these games specifically do not work with the PS5. Given it's such a small list, I would be interested why these games only don't work. From the PlayStation, let's hop, skip, and jump our way over to the Xbox. There is actually something really cool which has been confirmed on the recent episode of the Major Nelson podcast. Jason Ronald has actually confirmed that there are good things ahead of us for the Xbox Series S as well as Series X expansion cards. Obviously, Microsoft and Sony have taken rather different directions with the SSD expandability. And this is what Jason has said in regards to this. I think over time, you'll see this storage expansion, a category that's really critical to us. You'll see multiple options in different form factors and different sizes. But what was really important to us is that we had a simple, easy to use option available day one. And you can see more options going forward. So one of the criticisms we have seen of the Xbox Series approach is that there isn't too much in the way of option for different storage capacities and so on. And obviously, Seagate are the vendor which is providing Microsoft the solution, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Microsoft seemed to be okay with opening up the floor to this. I guess like other peripherals we saw in the past, like I can't think of any other memory card manufacturer than Datel from the PS2 era, to be honest with you. My brain just like brain.exe stopped. But yeah, you know what it's like where you could buy different vendor memory cards and all of this stuff. And of course you can do the same now with different joypads and joysticks and whatever else. So I actually think this is a really good move. I like that. Hopefully we will see larger capacities as well. Um, I do like the fact that you can hot swap these. So obviously, if you're playing a game and then you decide I want to actually switch to a different game, but the SSD that you have doesn't actually have that game installed, you can switch to SSD B. I don't know how many people will have multiple SSDs given the prices, but I think giving customers options is always a good thing. I never think that less options are good. So I'm actually really happy about this. I think that's really cool. We've also seen a ton of different narratives for this generation from one side or the other, but one set of reports recently is that the Xbox Series X has been getting really hot, and some people have been blowing this way out of proportion, in my opinion. I've already kind of detailed this in another video, but now we actually have confirmation from Microsoft themselves. This is from Aaron Greenberg. The console will output system heat out of the exhaust, just as any other console will. Our engineering team confirmed that the heat leaving the console is not significantly different than the Xbox One. This matches my experience at home, quiet, fast, and impressive power for the size. End quote. This was actually a tweet from yesterday, but with all of the crazy AMD stuff, I just didn't get around to covering it. Um, yeah, again, I kind of feel like some people don't understand how heat exchange and basic, well, the way that things work. Um, yeah, again, I think that the PlayStation 5, from what I understand, is pretty cool when it comes to the actual heat exchange, but we're kind of basing a lot of this on very small numbers of opinions that have actually of people have tried these consoles. And there's no way in hell Microsoft would create a console that is basically going to melt through the table that it is residing on. Um, because fan speeds of modern hardware can adjust themselves based upon the heat of the device. So I don't know what the thermal characteristics are, what limits Microsoft have imposed heat-wise on the APU. So, for example, what I mean by that is what is the fan speeds for different temperatures. So, for example, at 50 degrees, we may see a fan load of 30%, or fan speed, excuse me, of 30%. Maybe at a temperature of 65 degrees, the fans spin up to 50%, and so on and so on. You get the point. There's no way that the fans are just going to be chilling. It's okay. It's fine to let things melt. First of all, the fans will speed up if the temperature becomes unattainable. And if the console does get to the point where it is critically hot, there is almost certainly some type of shutdown. The console will just basically power down, and that's about it. It will just shut down. Maybe it will have like a message and say, system too hot, shutting down. I don't know that. I'm just guessing, but it would make logical sense. These systems are tested in very stringent conditions when they're being designed. So yeah, again, there's just no way that this is, a thing. It just never was. But there is a couple of other very small pieces of news that I'd like to go through. The first is that Microsoft, Microsoft seem to be, well, really, yeah, it feels bizarre land because Microsoft are very pro-consumer at the moment. And one of the things they've stated is that they do fully support Epic Games when it comes to their fight against Apple. And indeed, Microsoft have also decided that it's going to change how it deals with its own storefront. And this does include a plethora of pledges. I'm not going to go through all of these because it's going to take me ages to read out all of this stuff. But long story short, they will not block apps from Windows-based developer choices on payment system. They will not block apps from Windows-based developer business models, including delivering content and services, including the content is installed on the device or streamed from the cloud. They will not block other platforms. So, for example, Steam could have their client on the Windows Store, and that would be absolutely okay. And there are tons of other pledges that Microsoft are making too, which I think is really cool. I'm actually all for it. I think it's tremendous. Um, Goes to what I was saying earlier. I think customer choice is always a good thing, and I'm really happy that Microsoft is embracing it with the Xbox Series X and their new overview. But the last thing I would like to cover is a report from Business Insider. Apparently, Phil Spencer and Microsoft are actually looking into alternative methods to stream games to Apple devices. Apple have been in the news a lot recently, as I mentioned a moment ago, including again Epic, which is going to be interesting to see how all of that ends up. But Microsoft are apparently targeting a direct browser solution, which is essentially a way for them to circumnavigate the issues that they're having with the um, Apple's walled garden. And this is this is now apparently being discussed with a target window of 2021. Phil Spencer is naturally the executive vice president over at gaming at Microsoft, and he seemed to be leading a meeting on Wednesday. So, as of the time I'm recording this, a couple of days ago, and Phil has not been quiet in his desire to actually have streaming on Apple's devices, because obviously at the end of the day, iPhones and the like have a ton of users. As we've discussed many times on the channel, at the end of the day, Phil is about getting eyes on Microsoft products and services. The Xbox, PC gaming, all of these offerings are essentially a way to get customers. And obviously, they're really pushing at the moment the gaming solutions with cloud gaming. They've just started to really like make that a major priority over at Microsoft. And clearly, with the purchase of ZeniMax at $7.5 billion US, these are things that they're going to want to recoup their investments on by having as many potential customers as possible. So I actually really do wish that Apple didn't have this policy. I understand that from business reasons, we can argue that all day long, but from a customer perspective, I wish that Apple didn't have these well, yeah, just these policies. I think they kind of suck from customers. I would absolutely love um, for Apple to just kind of get on board with this and just say, yeah, okay, well, we're happy for cloud streaming from Microsoft because of X, Y, and Z. But obviously, Apple have been pretty against it, as well as for other services as well. And that's a whole backstory, which is kind of outside the remit of this video. But long story short, it'll be interesting to see how Apple do respond if this is the approach that Microsoft chooses to go. But yeah, with all of that said, thank you very much for watching the video. The normal stuff, like, share, comment, and subscribe. and hopefully as well in the next week or so, I'm actually ordering some foam at the moment, which will hopefully reduce the echo as well. For people who don't know, I have moved into a new place at the moment, so I need to get some stuff put up for reducing echo, and kind of get ready to build a new studio. So I'm looking into foam at the moment. There's a couple of really good options I have. So with any luck, that'll help a little bit as well. But thanks very much for watching the video, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.